Welcome to AlexGs Aquarium, everybody. Today we're going to do another Q&A video about the 1600 gallon system. But first, before we get into that, I really want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I've surpassed 200 subscribers in the last week, and I couldn't be happier. So thank you everybody for watching. I really appreciate all your views, your comments, and your likes. I'd also like to take the time to thank CJ's Aquarium and Rico's Reeftank YouTube channels. Their live streams have been a blast to get onto. I've been frequenting them about once a week or so when I have the time to get on. So I really want to say thanks to you guys. I'm going to go ahead and put a link down to their channels in the comments below. So if you haven't seen their channels, they got some really cool stuff going on with live streams that talk about reef tanks. Go ahead and check them out. Getting back to the tank now, I get all kinds of questions on this 1600 gallon system. Now, I've been working on this since July of 2015 is when I started this build, and it really has taken me a lot of time to work through all the planning and the process and the various different challenges that I've run into. One of the biggest questions I always get on this system is, why do you have two displays? Why didn't you just build one giant tank? Well, it's a pretty simple explanation. I really do love the idea of one giant tank, but for the type of animals that I want to keep, it's not going to work. Originally, I was going to have this be like a giant cube tank, have it with a big drop off, but with the plywood construction and stuff, I said that's just overcomplicated and it's just not going to work. The other thing is originally this 720 gallon tank was going to be over 900 gallons and it was going to be 8 feet by 4 foot by 4 foot. But when I found out that I need to go with 1 inch or thicker glass on it and not even be able to get prices online without calling up places, I said, you know what, let's just make it 36 inches tall. Then we can go with 3/4 inch glass, which I found readily available. The other thing really became with having the two tanks is I really wanted each one of these tanks for a different purpose. That 480 gallon tank is going to be a dedicated reef tank that is all about growing coral and keeping reef safe fish, shrimps, all kinds of invertebrates. And that's really what I wanted that tank for. I wanted it to be a shallower tank because I enjoy shallow tanks a little bit more. I also wanted to have really good accessibility to the bottom and such because I like a lot of the corals that can sit on the bottom. So the 24-inch deep was really what I wanted to go with. And I wanted to keep a sand bottom in there as well, which if I ever have to clean it or stir it up or move it, 24 inches is a lot easier to work with. The 720 gallon tank, on the other hand, is going to be bare bottom. I have a PVC bottom installed in it already. So it's white. It's not sand. It doesn't have a texture of sand, but it gives it at least a bright look and it reflects some light back up to lighten up the tank. The other thing is that I really wanted a tank to keep all those fish that my wife would want to pick out at the store, and I'd have to go, well, I'm sorry honey, that's not reef safe, you can't have that. And it was always things like a porcupine puffer, dogface puffers, angelfish, giant wrasses, and all that stuff. I was like, well, I really like those fish too, but I can't keep them in my reef tank because they'll eat everything and they'll be destructive. That's why the idea of the 720 gallon tank came about. Now I do have my AI Vega colors that I had over my last reef tank, which are going to be the lighting source for this tank. And there's a really good chance that I'm going to start putting some coral into this tank as well, but it's not really going to be a focus for this tank. This tank is to house the larger fish that aren't reef safe. And that's the whole purpose of it. So that's one of the big questions I get asked all the time. So I hope that kind of answers it for everybody else. And I'm going to move on. The next question I wanted to cover today was the glass. I get lots of questions on the glass. And I have a video out there that shows the installation of the glass in my 480 gallon tank. And I use the exact same method in the 720. What glass did I use though is also another question that comes up quite frequently. Well, I got 3/4 inch low iron glass. AlexGs.com is where I made my purchase of glass, and I found that they were pretty easy to work with, and their prices on glass, especially 3/4 inch low iron, were just unbeatable. I could not find anybody that was willing to even come close to their price. As a matter of fact, I called a number of glass places in the Chicagoland area to see if I can get some quotes for glass in 3/4 inch and the dimensions I needed, and I had a few of them that absolutely refused to do business with me, stating that they will not handle 3/4 inch glass, which I found kind of amazing. But the other handful of places I did talk to, they weren't on planet Earth when they gave me their prices. They were like 3 to 4 times the amount that GlassCages.com was asking. So I made the decision to get my glass from them. I got 2 panels of 3/4 inch low iron glass, and that's what's in the 480 and the 720. The other glass that I purchased from them was for my cross braces. Now I have 3 of them in here. Matter of fact, let me zoom in a little bit. The king of DIY, even in his how-to plywood video, he makes his cross braces out of wood, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. My issue became is that lighting for a reef tank and corals is really important, and plus I really didn't want the shadowing of a large piece of wood coming through the center. I just felt it was going to be kind of obtrusive and interfere with the look of the tank. So I went with 3/4 inch glass. This is standard plate. This is not low iron, and I will tell you right now that this glass versus low iron, there is a huge difference in clarity at 3/4 inch. And I even think on Reef to Reef I posted one picture of it somewhere on there because someone was asking if there really is a clarity difference. And there is an obvious green tint to standard plate versus the low iron, especially at 3/4 inch thickness. So if you're going to have glass that big, really consider spending a little extra money and getting the low iron, because there's a huge clarity difference. And these cross braces are going to be the last piece of the tank that is assembled. I want to get all my aquascaping into the tanks first, and I'm going to do a very similar job that I did with my regular glass installation for these cross braces. I'm going to use RTV 108 again, and that's what's going to hold these braces in. Once they get installed, they're probably going to be allowed to sit for a week or 2 just to make sure that everything's fully cured. I know it's way longer than it needs to be. I like to be overly cautious because this is a lot of water that I'm putting into my home, and I don't want to take any chances. So that's the glass that's going to be going in there. The 720 gets 3 cross braces, and the 480 tank gets 2. And that's all was done strictly based on how tall this tank is versus how tall the other one is. Another question I frequently get about this tank is, how did you get the glass down here? So when I ordered from GlassCages.com, I had to meet a truck away from my house. They don't do home delivery. I had to pick it up with another truck and bring it back to my house. Now I paid a little extra for GlassCages.com to put my glass on a pallet. Since it was 600 pounds of glass, this was a really good idea to spend the extra $40 or so to put it on a pallet. It just made life a whole lot easier because they put a pallet jack in place with this, which really made the job easy. Of course, I had to have a bunch of my friends come over and help me out. So I really got to thank all my friends that came over and helped me move this glass into my home. I really appreciate it, especially you, Brad, because I know you're going to be watching. The glass for the tanks was difficult to get down, but the 150-gallon tank that I had also purchased used from somebody was probably the most difficult, because that thing was just a giant size. It was 30 inch, it's a 30-inch tall tank, and it was just a behemoth to get down the stairs. And by the way, my stairs at the bottom turn 90 degrees, so we had to kind of shimmy it real slowly to move it everywhere for all the pieces of glass, which made it even more difficult. But the glass came in great. Everything turned out great. If you guys are watching, that helped me move the glass in. Once I get the tanks going, I'm going to have everybody come over and we'll share a beer or two over this tank, and you guys could take a look at the finished product to know that all that effort and time you put in to help me out really did go to do something great. Another question that I get quite a bit is, what kind of lighting are you going to use? And to be perfectly honest, I haven't decided yet. It will be LED. I've decided that I'm going LED. I don't want to deal with heat problems. I don't want to deal with bulb changes. I want to really narrow down what I'm doing here. So LED is the way I'm going. I'm probably going to purchase one fixture and try it out, see what happens. There's a lot of other projects that I have in the works right now. The aquascape for the 480 gallon tank is sitting in the tank over there, but I'm not going to show you guys because I'm not showing it in one of my videos until we have water in the tanks, and then I'm going to do a reveal on it. If you ever tune in to CJ's Aquarium or Rico's Reeftank and a live stream and I'm on there, you might get a little sneak peek. I've been known to do that every now and then when the subject of my tank aquascape comes up. Other things I've been working on beyond that, I got my light racks done and I put out a video for that. And you'll notice above me too, I also have my ceiling plastified. I went ahead and got that done. There's a video coming on that project. As always, I want to show you guys the steps I took for it. I still got to finish that job up. It's not 100% done, but that's a video that'll be coming out in the coming weeks. I'm also going to be talking about aquarium heating and the plans I have for heating this tank setup. I'm also going to be talking more about just in general some of the other things I need to complete for this tank before it gets underway and gets done. I got to go through my reverse osmosis system. I did pressure test the unit I have today despite the fact of it needing all its cartridges and membrane replaced, just to get an idea on my house water pressure, and I'm only pushing 40 psi, so I'm going to need to get a booster pump. There's no question about that. There will be a booster pump getting installed on the RO system, which is not going to get put into the fish room because obviously it's very filled up with all kinds of support tanks right now. I do have two 100-gallon drums though that I have from my previous builds that I'm going to use to hold 200 gallons of RO water in the basement as well. I'm going to set those up to auto-fill themselves and have a little bit of a mixing station there, and eventually hook it up to an auto top-off system, which I'll eventually get for the tank. All way down the road, but it's videos that are going to be up and coming for this channel in the next few weeks or few months. I'm still holding to the deadline. This is another question I obviously get quite a bit. When are you going to get these tanks filled? Right now, my target date to get water in these tanks is June of this year. I don't know exactly when, but it will be sometime in June. So I'm looking forward to getting the water in the tanks. It's going to be a slow process. I'm going to do a video on that. I'll probably time lapse it so you guys can see them slowly fill up. Because I really got to test the tanks, test everything about, you know, are they going to really hold water? Because I don't know. I'm very confident they're going to hold water, but until you actually do it, you just don't know. Once we get a lot of this going, it's going to just more or less be getting all the final things buttoned up. I eventually going to get an apex on this system to do some controlling. That monster protein skimmer I have is not completed yet. That's going to be another little video series there for me to get that up and running and tested. But I gotta say, I'm starting to look at this tank and going, wow, I'm kind of running out of stuff to do. The list is not gargantua anymore. It's getting a little smaller every day. And I even got my waterproof boxes mounted up here, which those went in pretty good. There's plastic sealed around the base of them, so it's coming together really nice. Thanks guys for watching today. I hope I answered a few questions that have really been coming out about this tank system, and I wanted to address them in video form. If you have more questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. And if you like the video, go ahead and like it. If you dislike it, go ahead and dislike it. And if you want to see more videos on my 1600 gallon system and its slow journey towards completion, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next video.